Hey, what's up guys, DevilDogGamer here, and finally the Star Citizen Arena Commander has launched. And you know, I've had tons of people ask me, DevilDog, do you know about Star Citizen? Of course I do. I've been watching it, I've been waiting. You know, I haven't really been talking much about it because it's just words to me. A lot of what they say is just words, and I've just been kind of, you know, silently watching the development a bit until this came out. And not really too impressed, I gotta say. So pretty much what Star Citizen is, it's the space sims to end all space sims. It was the largest funded Kickstarter ever. I mean, it's like fucking like $40 million or something right now. And it is an MMO simulator fucking space game, pretty much. The space game that you've always wanted. Just imagine that. That's pretty much what this game's going to deliver. Fucking star cruisers manned by multiple people, fucking fighters, all kinds of stuff. I mean, to give you an idea how crazy this is going to be, the ship that I pre-ordered is a AWACS aircraft. It's a fucking fighter that acts as an AWACS and scans long range, and you know, that's crazy. What other game has that? Fucking Arma doesn't even have an AWACS. But anyways, Alpha finally released, and of course, you know, it's a space simulator, so I've been sitting here patiently waiting for it to release and see how simulator-like it was. Well, you're gonna see my shitty fucking flying right here, and that's because they gave you the controls, the control schemes to set up, you know, joysticks, and it was by model, and of course my HOTUS Warthog was on there. It doesn't allow you to change the controls though, and of course I crashed, hence why I'm having problems. You can't change the controls, so pretty much all I had was my yaw and pitch, or not yaw and pitch, roll and pitch, and that's a pain in the ass to fly like that, especially in this kind of a game where you gotta make these little course corrections and such, and you couldn't change it from there, and the rest of the key bindings on that control scheme were wrong. I had to like kind of click random shit here and there to try to figure out what it all did. And it's expected, it's to be an alpha, but on that same note, why are we going to settle for this kind of stuff? This is the thing I don't understand, and this is why I try to stay away from alphas as much as possible. The past few years has just been littered with these pay now, get to play the alphas, and you know, stuff like that. Like you pay now and you get an alpha. And these games have been stuck in an alpha state for years, and they don't change. Not much changes. There's very few games on there that will change from an alpha state and just kind of stay in this perpetual cycle of bug fixes and, you know, small content add-ons and etc. And this is why I haven't been too enthusiastic about Star Citizen. I'm gonna say Space Engineers. Fuck. I've played Space Engineers more than I've looked at the fucking Star Citizen forums. But, it's all talk to me. It's all talk. You could promise everything in the world, but you're not going to deliver it. And when I hear about all these features that Star Citizen is going to deliver, I just kind of shake my head and say, sure, we'll see. You know? I mean, there's not much I can't take the people's words for it, but from what I've seen from Alpha, you know, from game launches with Alphas, in the past few years, they don't deliver. They don't deliver anymore. And with a game as big as this, and, you know, as epic, and, you know, just the scale and the mass of it, I find it very hard to believe that this is going to be delivered exactly how they say. I have a feeling it's going to be some watered down, you know, kind of like, you know, flight combat sim, you know, like Rogue Squadron. And it's not even going to be like MMO. I have a feeling it's just going to be so watered down, it's just not going to be much of anything. And you know, he made the guy who's making this made Wing Commander, which is arguably one of the greatest space sims out there, you know, space games out there. It was a blast to play back in the day. But I feel like just because he's had that past glory doesn't mean he can pull it off again. Lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. you know what I mean, the old saying. And I feel like all the things that they say are just not going to be not really going to be brought to the table, honestly. Like, there's been talks of them adding in to where you can actually board other people's ships and kill people and, you know, like, you know, breach into their giant capital ships and such. And I feel like that on itself would be such a scale to make in this huge universe, just to add that one giant thing in there to be able to go and disrupt engine rooms. I mean, you have to make a whole second game almost. And, you know, you have to take it from a space sim to a first-person shooter at that point. And I feel like just the scale and the mass of what they're trying to do, and I mean, look how much stuff's in this little simulation area. Can you imagine entire universes filled with all this kind of stuff? I mean, to me, it seems like an impossible feat. But anyways, let's talk about the alpha a little bit, and we'll go back to more about my thoughts on Star Citizen. The space flight, you know, it feels good. It feels good. You feel kind of more around like how it would feel to fly, you know, a starfighter. The one thing I don't like is there's no sound in space. If it is supposed to be the game that ends all space games, why is there, like, why do you hear sound out there, you know? And just even the engine noises and stuff. I mean, you got a space helmet on, so your cockpit should be a vacuum as it is, right? Correct? Or, yeah, I don't know, it might be pumped up with oxygen, who knows? But anyways, this is the whole thing about, like, there shouldn't be noise. You know, that bugs me out. If I really, you know, something of this level, I'd expect, you know, to take all aspects of space into consideration. Another thing I didn't like is this kind of like auto-aim thing you got going when you target a ship. And I understand, you know, it's for, because I played it a little bit with mouse and keyboard and then joystick. And the mouse, you actually kind of gimbal your turrets a bit with it. And I understand, you know, it's a little helpful thing for, you know, for the joystick users, because it's a little difficult to lead targets, especially in space with joysticks. And it's understandable. But I didn't really like it. I kind of felt like it made it a little more easy mode. I'd like to see it to where, you know, that could be turned off at some point in time. And now, one thing that kind of did bug me out, and I was really kind of looking forward to when they released this, was there's no track IR support. I don't know why track IR wasn't working. And something of this scope and scale and, you know, realism, I really would like to see track IR released. And, you know, the joystick support was subpar. And, you know, it kind of, I wasn't expecting that. I kind of expected a little bit more support, but whatever. Shit happens. But anyways, you know, and the thing about this that kind of bugs me out with this Arena Commander launch, the Arena Commander is just a little module. It's not the game. This is just showing off kind of the dogfight thing. And they've been talking about, you know, they've been developing this module for a while now, and they've delayed it and pushed it, and, you know, they've released it, and now it's buggy and it's broken. And now I feel like we're going to get stuck on this cycle where it's going to get fixed and then, you know, patched, and they're going to be spending all this time fixing the Arena Commander, not focusing on the main game, which is really what everybody's kind of waiting for. And, you know, I'm kind of glad that they did. You know, I thank them for giving this opportunity to actually play, you know, something that we've spent our money on this early and, you know, kind of testing it out. But at the same time, I feel like they're going to focus way too much on this Arena Commander, and I really hope they don't, because this is just a small module showing you off, you know, how a little bit of things are. And, you know, I know they could use the feedback and to better create the game and, you know, from the community base, but at the same time, you really can't listen to community base that much. You're building your own game, and whatever people say about it, you know, you can't take every, if game developers took every little thing that people told them to do and put it in a game, it'd be this mishmash of bullshit everywhere. It'd be complete garbage. So I feel like the devs should really not focus on this Arena Commander too much. Fix a lot of the major problems now while they have the chance. Patch them so people can play the Arena Commander and move on. And just, you know, move on to where you focus in on the main development of it. And, you know, there's a lot of really cool things that, you know, I've been hearing about Star Citizen. And, you know, Upchuck's been my main supplier of information. The dude's on the forums constantly and tells me every little bit of what he reads. And, you know, he's always on there talking to people, you know, arguing with people. And I'm really excited about it. I like the aspect of being able to crew, you know, a massive ship to where your friends can be on, walk through the ship, man the turrets, you know, man the weapon systems, the navigation for you, and, you know, and that's something I want. Like, you know, when we played Star Maid and Star Citizen, I liked that the reason I'd draw me to it was because we could build these massive ships that multiple people could crew. And I like that idea. I like the teamwork of it. I like, you know, the ability to, you know, have combat with, you know, friends being able to man different stations. It's kind of like, you know, working in a tank. You know, you got your driver, your gunner, your loader, your commander. I like that sort of play, and that's what I'm really looking for. And I'm really hoping that it works out that way to where you can play it just like that and do all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I'm not really getting my hopes up, honestly. That's why I've kind of waited until now to talk about this game. I really just don't want to get my hopes up on it. There's so much that could go wrong, and there's so much they have to do for this that you know, I feel like there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and there's a lot of things that they could change. Now, given the aspect, there's really not any other good space simulators. So I feel like even if they don't bring everything they promised to the table, this still could turn into a really, really good game. And you know, so I mean, at least at that point, you know, at that point, you're still gonna have a really good game. Now, a lot of people are talking about how it's gonna be like a first-person Eve almost, and that'd be cool. I mean, it really would be cool. I'd like to see some of the giant Eve battles played out into more of a first-person simulation scale, and you know, I would really actually like that. I know there's another game that's in development for, I haven't heard anything for it in a while. I think it was like Rogue System or something, to where it was like a space simulator, but it was like a DCS style space simulator. Like you clicked everything in your fucking, you know, your fucking spaceship. They actually had to where there were no windows because glass in space is a bad idea. So it was kind of like your viewport was built from screens showing what was outside from cameras. And I actually like that aspect, but I don't think that sort of thing would work on a large scale for Star Citizen. I mean, you're gonna have people, and yeah, somebody fired a missile at me, and I'm like, I don't even know what the fucking key is. Fuck it, I'll eat it. I don't care. But something like that serious, and that, you know, in depth into the simulation aspect wouldn't really, you know, appeal to the masses. So you wouldn't really have that many people playing it. There's a ton of backers behind this game, so they really, you know, as much as I'd like to see this like straight-on simulation, it's not going to happen. They can't do it. They have to make it, you know, as balanced between a simulator and an arcade as they can. And even the funny thing about making a space simulation like this is you really can't make it. I mean, how are you going to make it simulate? I mean, you're just basically guesstimating at this point. We really know diddly shit about space travel, you know, and like, you know, combat than we do about fucking, you know, anything else. It's like, how do you know? It's just weird. It kind of, you think about it, and it's kind of like, yeah, you can't really, you know, they can't really simulate that because you don't really know how that would work in space. But, you know, and it's one of those things where I'm kind of watching the game. I'm watching it. I'm waiting. I'm not gonna jump for joy and be like, oh my god, it's great. I'm not expecting it to release anytime soon. This is probably the only footage you're going to see on this channel until this game releases of it, because I feel like they have a lot to deliver and they need a lot of time. I'm not expecting this game next year. I'm not expecting it the year after that. I'll probably expect it, you know, 2018 maybe. You know what I mean? It might be that long, and by that time, I'm sure everyone would have forgotten about this game. So I just really hope they take their time. And they do it right. You have to do it right, especially with something this ambitious. You really have to do it right, and you really have to pay attention to what you're doing with it. And just ignore what people say. Ignore this arena commander. Do the game right. Just do us all a favor, and for once, do a game right.